Miri Eisen, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's so lovely to be talking into Georgia right now.
That's right. So tell folks just a little bit about you. I mean, I said that you had been in the IDF, but that's not all there is about you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am one of those, I don't want to say an army brat, and you can hear my American accent, but my parents immigrated to Israel when I was a kid, and I served in the Israeli Defense Forces in a variety of positions, almost entirely inside Israeli military intelligence. For those people out there who know a bit more of the military, I was an S2 of a brigade, the G2 of Israel's airborne division, and a variety of different positions inside Israeli intelligence. And after I retired at the rank of colonel, I also served for 2 years in the Israeli Prime Minister's office as the international media advisor. And what can I say, Martha? That was before social media, before, in that sense, smartphones. So once upon a time, people used to watch TV and listen to the radio a lot more.
And talk to each other.
That's another aspect to it. We could add that in as well.
That's
and
right.
for a very long time, that's right. So I teach, I lecture, I do a lot of briefings, and I'm basically a researcher on our geopolitical regional issues here in the Middle East.
And there are many, right? You've got Israel, which what struck me is you see on a map how small it is, but it's really small. And we, in our trip, covered the border that we looked over with you, as well as several others. And but even since we went in November, there have been huge changes. So give us an update on how the ceasefire's going, as well as your thoughts about what's happening in Iran right now.
Absolutely. So when we say ceasefire, we're talking about a few different ceasefires. Israel has one line with the Gaza Strip after all of the last 2 years and 4 months, and that ceasefire that was done with the absolute help of President Trump and of this administration brought about the return to Israel of the live hostages and of most of the dead hostages. There still is one Israeli dead hostage that was taken on murdered and taken on October 7th, 2023, who's still held by Hamas. When we talk about the South right now, when we talk about that area, there's no question that it's got to be pretty hard for people, not pretty hard, it's hard for people inside the Gaza Strip, but Hamas still rules. Hamas has not given up its weapons. In the areas that Israel is not deployed in, Hamas is trying to reassert its claim. And what's supposed to happen now is that under an American auspice, okay, meaning they're kind of like an American umbrella, the United States has established an international force. It's called the International Stabilizing Force that's supposed to go into the areas where Hamas controls, because at the end of the day, I think we're all going to agree, none of us want Hamas. This isn't about the Palestinian people, and they have a very poor future with Hamas with them. And that's just one of the borders. But we also have the ceasefire with Hezbollah. And the ceasefire with Hezbollah is a Shiite, Arabic-speaking Lebanese organization, a lot of words there. And Hezbollah in Lebanon was heavily attacked, and I would even say decimated by Israel in 2024. And we now are at the beginning of 2026. So a few things. One, Hezbollah has not attacked Israel a single time since November 27th, but what they're trying to do is to recuperate. The Islamic regime of Iran that you mentioned is trying to rearm them, but there's a whole new arena. The new Syrian regime under Ahmed al-Shara, who was hosted by the president in the United States in November of this year, colorful figure that we could talk about for a while. But one of the things that he is doing right now is he is not allowing the Islamic regime of Iran to use Syria as the conduit for weapons to Hezbollah. That is a huge change in the Middle East. And just yesterday in Paris, and this is also these new first things, there was a meeting between Israeli high-ranking people and Syrian high-ranking people, including the Syrian foreign minister. And that is unheard of. And that was also done under the auspices of the United States in Paris. And that means that for Israel on the northern border, we're in some kind of negotiations with Syria to try to arrive at some kind of a resolution on that border. And inside Lebanon, albeit Hezbollah is totally trying to get back their weapons, to get back their strength, to go back to being the one that defines what happens inside Lebanon, because of the new regime in Syria and because of the new regime in Lebanon, we're really seeing some changes on the ground. And I talked way too much.
No, you didn't. You didn't. What I'm looking at in Iran, because uh, ironically, I have an uncle who's passed away now, but he was. He used to always say he was Persian, okay? And he was actually Armenian Persian. And he and his family left Iran during the Armenian genocide and went to India from there. And from India, he came to be educated in the United States, and that's where he met my aunt, got married, and that's where I had this little part of my life, where I would hear about these kinds of things. And it was always interesting to me because I meet a lot of people that are Iranian, but they will always refer to themselves as being Persian. And I see this, and talked about a lot. But today what we're seeing is, or at least if you can believe what you're viewing on video, which is I always have to check and double check and triple check these days, but it looks like there are protests in the streets and that the police by and large are letting them happen in Iran. And is that significant, or is it just something we're going to have to wait out?
So the first thing is that it's significant and we're going to have to wait it out. So let's for a moment just put this into perspective. So I'm sitting right now in Tel Aviv, in Israel, not far from the Mediterranean Sea, okay? I live only a few miles from the Mediterranean Sea. From me, meaning in Tel Aviv, to get to Iran, I could get into a car and drive. It would take me a long time, but I want people to understand that it's a land, meaning you would drive from Israel to Jordan, from Jordan to Iraq, cross Iraq, you're in Iran. That's the neighborhood that I live in. I just said something that would take a good, and when I say that, you know what, it would take 17 or 18 hours and you're in Georgia, and think if you would drive right now west, how far you'd get if you drove 18 hours. I mean, at the end, you'd still be in the nice south of the United States of America. So
well, it's about 14. It's about 14 hours to drive from Atlanta to where my grandmother lived in New York. So it's
all right.
Yeah, we drive. Yeah.
We drive. So here in the Middle East, we don't drive so much because we have a lot of countries that are at war with each other, or like countries that call for our destruction. And so we have an open border to a certain degree, but we have very challenging aspects. And inside Iran, you're talking about a country of over 90 million people. And in the Middle East, that's very dominant. The two largest, most populated countries in the greater Middle East are not the Arabic-speaking ones. We're talking about Iran, 90 million, Turkey, 90 million, and both of them do not speak Arabic. Iran is Persian, and Turkey is Turkish, and those are different languages, and it's not just a language, it's a culture, and it's different languages and cultures. And in Iran, you had a very developed Persian culture. It's a very ancient culture, and people that were both Muslim, both Sunni and Shiite, because there's a Shiite majority there, but also, like you said, of your uncle, Armenian. There are other religions inside Iran. And what always united all of them is that they were very, very proud of being Persian, of what Persian culture has brought to the world, in poetry and in a lot of different aspects of science. They were very important, the Persians, in the world. And in this odd way, until 1979, the country, Persia, Iran, had a very strong relationship with all of the West. And in the post-revolution period that happened there, when you had people who were trying to go towards democracy, and it was kind of hijacked by the Islamic regime, but at the end of the day, the bulk of Persians are Muslim Shiites. And what we're seeing right now are Persians, people who live there, who are saying enough is enough. Right now inside Iran, okay, we're in 2026. You can barely get electricity. It's a country of 90 million people. It's a modern country. They don't have the water. They are in a horrific water crisis. And the money of the regime goes in for weapons to attack Israel, to supply Hezbollah, the Houthis, and other proxies. And the people in Iran are saying it. They're saying it in their voice. No to Hezbollah, no to Gaza, because those are the two things that Iran likes to say that they're supporting, and yes to us, invest in us inside Iran. So it is an actual, real movement. Islamic dictatorships are not nice. I'm being very cute right now. They're not going to do nice things to the people who are against them. And it isn't that everybody is against the regime. There's definitely popular support in portions of Iran, but we are seeing all over. It's already in over 50 different cities, including in Tehran, the capital, and other cities. I don't see it as much in the very, what I would call, religious-based cities, but in all of the other areas in and around Iran. And that may bring about a change, but as you said at the beginning, it's dramatic, but I don't expect it to happen quickly.
Yes. So I ask everyone that I speak to from Israel where they were on October 7th and what that day was like for them.
I woke up from the siren at home Saturday, Tel Aviv, with my husband, who is also a retired colonel, and 2 out of my 3 kids. All of them serve in the military, all 3 of my kids. By the siren, I would say that within 1 hour, I was in my empty house. My husband was doing reserve duty as a colonel for a very long time throughout 2023 and 2024. Daughter, officer, captain in an Israel infantry brigade, Golani, that had horrible, horrible casualties both on October 7th and afterwards. She was often there. My youngest also. I'm just saying everybody was in the military, and I feel like pretty much from October 7th, I sat in front of a screen, talked to every single TV outlet in the world, which is a lot of what I do in that sense, just of trying in some way to convey who we are and what's going on here. And our life has completely changed since then in Israel. And yet here we are. We're still within the 10 countries that have the people who consider themselves happy because we like it here. It's a wonderful country with a lot of warts, pimples, challenges, and problems, but I'd rather be here than anywhere else.
Well, I'm a Christian, and I wore from October 7th and still wear today. I wear a different one today because I gave away the one that I wore for 2 years when I was in Israel. But I wore a Star of David with a cross in it, and that was
That's amazing.
my small way of supporting. I'm 66 years old. I can't go to war, but I can show my support and do what I can do. And when we went to the Nova Festival site, we spoke to the Bedouin police officer who saved hundreds of people from that site. And I felt I was waiting for the moment to say, who should I give this to? And he was the one. So I gave him that and told him the story behind it. And it was such a moving moment. It was the only place we were during that time that we heard rocket fire too, which was very interesting, or not surprising really. But the final thing is we went to visit a kibbutz not far from after we saw you, and I remember walking down from the dining hall when we had eaten, and they had all the pictures of the families that lived there in that kibbutz, and it's on the border with Syria, this particular one. And I thought to myself, this could have easily have been this kibbutz. This could have as easily been these families. And that was one of the most poignant moments of my visit.
When you describe that, as you describe it right now, that's what I call the challenge of people who look at Israel in what I'm going to call one-dimensional eyes. On October 7th, and I'm saying this very clearly, we as the military, as the intelligence, as the security establishment, and I say as myself as part of that, we feel that we absolutely failed. And what happened from October 7th and onward is not just a question of getting up, continuing to be here, continuing to fight, but an understanding that those enemies like Hamas that attacked on October 7th, Hezbollah could have attacked. To this day, we're never going to know why they didn't, but they did attack us from the air. They just didn't attack us with ground forces the way that Nukhba Hamas did on October 7th. And there was the possibility that this could happen from Syria. Syria is an unstable country that's trying to stabilize it right now, and I think it's great for the Syrian future for it to be stabilized, but I do not want to help establish a country that's going to turn into a Taliban country. Yeah. And we live in between those because when you're up on the Golan Heights, that's part of the challenge.
So many things. Miri Eisen, thank you so much, and when my husband and I come back, we're going to look you up.
Martha, I can't wait to host you at my Shabbat dinner. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we will talk again soon.